get you all together and answer any of your questions about the event. I think you know the basic story. Bank robbery at Hamden Chambers, Wells Fargo, about 3:50 on Saturday. We believe there were 19 vehicles stopped at Iliff and Buckley. That event begins at around 4:20 and ends at 6:30. Approximately 40 people were detained, mostly adults. And beyond that, obviously we had a successful resolution. We had a virtual certainty that the bank robber was in one of those cars. And that's why the folks were detained. Beyond that, I'm happy to answer questions, since there were so many on the phone to our press office.
How did you know that there was...
We're not going to discuss how we knew. I will tell you there's a virtual certainty the bank robbers in one of those cars.
What's the virtual certainty?
Virtual certainty. It's the language I'm using, that's all.
Chief, you don't want to talk about the technology line.
I'm not discussing any of our methods other than to tell you we were virtually certain that the suspect was in one of those cars.
Is it unusual for something like that to happen?
This is extremely unusual in my career, but I will give you an analogy that one of my officers gave to me today. It's much more routine that we have a suspect flee into a building. It could be a hotel, it could be an apartment building, and I think all of you folks are familiar with those scenes, where we have to deal with apartments or hotel rooms, search them methodically to find the suspect. And this is exactly parallel to that. The only difference is it occurred on the street. And that's really it. The lieutenant in charge made a tough decision. We knew we were inconveniencing all the occupants of those cars, but the judgment made on the scene, which I am not going to second guess, is that that was the safest way to proceed to capture an armed bank robber. And I'm not sure he's yet been charged in federal court. I believe that's imminent. And you for yourself can come up here and take pictures. Don't touch. You can come up here and take pictures and look at the two weapons that were used in the bank robbery.
Were people pulled out of their cars and handcuffed?
Yes, they were.
Everybody? All four?
All the males, my understanding is, as of right now, again, subject to further review, because we're going to take a look at the whole incident and see if we could have handled what we can learn from it. All the males were handcuffed and some of the females. We had a general description. Officer Fain will make it available to you. I think it's 5'6". Race and gender of the suspect was not available to us. As you would also all know from your line of work, when bank robberies occur, it is not uncommon to have a suspect accomplice who is driving the other vehicle. So just because one person went to the bank doesn't mean that only one person was involved in the event. So we didn't know the gender of the suspect because of the masking and the gloves. The mask, I'm told, is a typical of what a beekeeper wears, completely covering the face. That has been recovered. Other evidence was recovered from the car. So at any rate, tough decision was made under the circumstances by the lieutenant on the scene that we were going to detain everyone. We've gotten questions about the law. The law is clear that investigative detentions are lawful for a reasonable period of time. Reasonableness is determined by the facts and circumstances at issue, and the facts and circumstances were the suspect was in one of 19 cars. So as long as it took to methodically and safely take people out of those cars and ask them questions and investigate, that's how long it took. In this case, it took approximately 2 hours.
Is that long?
None of the cars were searched except for ultimately the car, other than to see who was inside them and bring people out. None of the cars were searched except for the car that contained the suspect.
Have you received any complaints from any of the...
We've received 4 complaints by email today, all of them from people who were not on the scene, apparently not on the scene, and were responding to media reports. And we've received a 5th, what we call an online complaint, a formal complaint of misconduct against the department, again, apparently from someone who was not on scene. And we will treat that complaint the way we do all complaints of misconduct that will be thoroughly investigated. And I'm also going to ask my patrol division chief, Ken Murphy, to do an appropriate review of the event. But I'm telling you today, I just wrote a note to my boss that I've looked at the matter, and as of right now, I congratulate my officers on safely apprehending an extraordinarily dangerous bank robber. Okay? Our experience is that once someone robs a bank, they usually don't stop doing it until they get caught. This one did it with 2 guns. Our folks took him off the street safely without anyone being injured. Yes, we detained people for 2 hours. And by the way, we spent a lot of time at the scene explaining to everyone involved what we were doing and why, apologizing for the inconvenience, and today I will offer again an apology to the folks involved for the inconvenience. But under the circumstances and given the facts I have today, I can't find fault with the decisions that were made on Saturday. Again, we'll do a review and maybe some new evidence will come forward. And we will certainly investigate the complaint of misconduct by the one person who filed a formal complaint online. The other 4 emails were basically emails to city officials complaining about the police.
So Chief, you've called it an inconvenience, but do you think, I mean, we've had some experts this morning tell us that it's a constitutional violation
I
of
do
their
not think
civil
it's a
rights.
constitutional violation. Those same experts should know that the law says that you can conduct investigative detentions, and the time frame clear by court decisions is for a reasonable amount of time given the facts and circumstances. The facts and circumstances here were extraordinarily unusual, but the detention, in our view, based on the facts I know today, the detentions were not unreasonable.
But Chief, the 40 people that stopped, none of those people issued a complaint at all, is that correct?
That's my understanding at this time. None of the complaints we received at this time were from people who were stopped.
Where were they held? They were for the 2 hours?
They were there on the scene.
Did they have water? Did they have any access to restrooms, that sort of thing?
I don't know what specific efforts were done. My understanding is, I spoke to a couple of people who were on the scene today, that every reasonable effort was made to make them comfortable and to explain to them what was going on and why. And some of the folks involved there actually thanked our officers for the work that they had done.
Do you worry at all, I mean, obviously confiscated 2 weapons from this
Right.
individual. What if he had opened fire? And you have all these people detained in one area?
Yes, we were very concerned about that. That's why my understanding from the description of how we handled the tactics at the scene was that that was extremely well done. And the potential for that to occur, or for him to be successful, was extremely limited by the overwhelming show of force and the manner in which we handled the extraction of people one at a time from each of the cars.
How many officers do you have out there, Chief?
I don't know. It was a very significant patrol response. I don't know what the numbers are.
Was there a device used to immobilize the vehicles? So witnesses
Yes,
said-
police cars blocked them so they couldn't go anywhere.
Okay. Some witnesses thought maybe the
No.
cars were rendered.
No, we don't have that technology yet. We'll get there someday.
Do you know at what point he was captured in the course of taking the 40 people out?
Yes, I do.
Early on, middle, late?
It took a long time to figure out who it was. We only searched 1 car. We actually got consent, by the way, from everyone else, from the other 18 vehicles, to search their vehicles, but we did not search them.
And pardon me, can you tell me where exactly this happened, and how'd you keep everyone corralled in there?
Well, they were blocked in by patrol cars, but, and the street was cleared. We did our best to clear any line of fire if there was shooting. It was correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, it was eastbound on Iliff, just before the intersection with Buckley. It was those cars were the ones that were stopped, and then everybody else was cleared out.
And how did you not have the timing? How do you coordinate something like that so quickly after?
We have a very good police department, and we had a very rapid response. We practice it all the time.
How soon afterwards was it?
Well, again, the event occurred half an hour earlier, but we were able to determine that our bad guy was there at that time, and then our folks swooped in, figured out a plan, tactics, et cetera, and did what they had to do.
What was the FBI's involvement?
Well, we cooperate with the FBI on all bank robbery investigations, and they were, as in all bank robberies, they were quick to the scene and quick to investigate, and in the end, this suspect is being charged in federal court with bank robbery.
Is there any indication that the suspect might be involved in other bank robberies?
I'm not going to discuss that at this time.
When do you think you'll be able to release his name, Chief?
You can go to the U.S. Attorney's Office and see what they'll tell you. I think it would be fairly soon.
Okay.
But since they're in charge of charging him, I defer to them as to when his identity is released.
What did you call that?
By the way, he's a resident of, I will tell you, he's a resident of Centennial with 1 minor arrest in his past for failure to appear on a traffic ticket.
Was this suspect yielding both weapons at the time of the robbery?
We have a photo that we're releasing, correct? I don't know if that answers the question, does it?
believe it's just showing in the photo.
So we're gonna release a photo, we're gonna release a photo of the mask he was wearing, and we're gonna allow you to take pictures, but do not touch these two weapons.
Were both weapons involved in the robbery?
Beyond saying that we will release a photo that shows him holding one, that's all we have to say. Okay, anything else?
So the bee mask, was that found in the car, you said, too?
There was ample evidence of this person's involvement in the robbery found inside the car, and yes, the mask was involved.
Mask was involved.
Was he driving, was he alone in that car?
He was alone.
Had you not taken these measures, and you kind of alluded to this earlier, what do you, I mean, what would have been
Well,
the danger to the community?
We are always charged with doing a risk-benefit analysis when it comes to catching bad guys. We had a car chase 2 weeks ago. We almost never chase cars in the city. Officers made a decision to chase a car because it was an armed robbery with an assault rifle. There were risks involved, and some of you folks reported on those risks, and we understand that. It's the same kind of analysis here. If this guy gets away, what does he do next? What staff in a bank does he terrorize next? Does that subsequent robbery go badly with someone shot and injured or killed? Okay, those are the kinds of risk analysis that is done. We pay our lieutenants of police to make decisions like this on the spur of the moment. Our lieutenant that they did, and we had a very positive outcome. No question we inconvenience citizens. We feel badly about that. We apologize to them. I apologize to them again today. But we made a tough choice here, and we arrested a very dangerous armed bank robber. So that's a good way to conclude that.
Does the FBI investigate, I guess, how you guys handled the situation, or do you investigate yourselves?
Well, I'm always looking at how we handle any situation and always investigating any situation when it's a complaint of misconduct. What the FBI chooses to do with regard to investigating the Aurora PD, we are a transparent agency. If they choose to look into something like this, we'll help them in any way we can. Okay, I think that's it.
Is the suspect the only one that didn't give consent for the search?
I'm not gonna discuss that.
No, but you gave a number, how many?
The other folks gave us consent to search their vehicle, yes, okay?